I'm recording this as a surprise for my lovely Janelle. So I wanted to withhold this until you could all see her wonderful nature as a mature mother and a believer in myself, and instrumental in taking the cure to New Guinea for AIDS and cancer and malaria and so forth. Her sacred name is Asherah. The greatest testimony to the Lord is his wife. She is identified by the wonders built into the stone monument, the Great Pyramid, 5,000 years ago, which I ordered Noah and his descendants to build. You will recall at the solar eclipse of the day, January 15, 2010, I mentioned the latitude in my previous videos at 441414 north latitude, directly in line with Greensboro. That distance is 9110, so we have the 911 number. 911 this year is when I will be 66.666 years old. The word Asherah is not found in the Bible at all. However, man is stupid to attempt to outsmart me, I can assure you. So by taking it out of the ancient scriptures and not including it in the Bible was a very vast mistake. The closest to it is the word ash, and it's found in only one verse. Isaiah 44:14, which is the latitude which I just mentioned, which is 9110 kilometres from this house. He heweth him down cedars and taketh the cypress and the oak, which he strengthened for himself among the trees of the forest. Then he planted an ash, and the rain doth nourish it. Point being, I cut down the cedars, the cypress and the oak. Then I planted the ash, and sent the rain to nourish her. The ash tree, if you look it up in the encyclopedias, is a wonderful tree. Its plants are helicopter plants. They spiral down. It is totally female and pollinated, of course, by wind and bees. I returned to the earth when my mother Daphne Delightly conceived on April 6, 1943, and when we add 766 days, we have 5/21/1954, and 5/21 is the mother word, Cupid. 5/2 is also the same word, and that's how many times the word Christ is found in the New Testament. In it is 555 times the word Christ is mentioned. The carpenter stretches out his rule. He marketh it out with a line. He fitteth it with planes, and he marketh it out with the compass, and maketh it after the figure of a man, according to the beauty of a man, that it may remain in the house, and that beauty is woman. Popular myths suggest that the Bible and the Quran are both the Word of God. They are not, from a reader's viewpoint, but are wholly for reasons the churches or mosques do not proclaim. Both were allowed to dominate the world as Lucifer's power structure used the Word of God to control the masses. The point is, they never use the Word of God or say it. I never revealed to her, this is to Janelle, the secrets of creation. She grew from seed within. Then recently she told me her memory of being at my feet at the cross. The point I'm making here is that only she recalls it. Michelle doesn't, who is Mary Magdalene. So her sister Martha, the younger sister, recalls being at my feet at the cross, the one Jesus loved. She told me she saw I was completely covered with blood from the massive injuries, how my face was red with blood from the thorns. If you cut your forehead, you'll bleed profusely. She said that as the soldier pierced my left side, the blood sprayed upon her. Later in the tomb, my body had been laid out on the burial plot, which is a shroud of Turin, but I was no longer covered with blood. On January the 12th, I was with Janelle in High Court on the farm. We spoke about the crucifixion. She asked me if there was a rainstorm, and I said yes, it was a violent thunderstorm, and it washed off the surface blood from my body, and also a violent earthquake occurred. This is why the Shroud of Turin is an image, an imprint of my body showing the wounds from the top of my head to my feet, only of the wounds that had congealed. The surface blood was missing. There's the back on the left-hand side of the screen and on the right-hand side. Now, it was 40 lashes with dumbbells with 6 leather straps with lead dumbbells attached, which tore out 240 pieces of flesh. It's a close-up of the back. There's massive wounds. You bleed to death. There's also lashes on the front of the body where the lash went around the body. I'd like to point out that Lucifer is very, very real. They're angels. All angels are real. The difference between Lucifer's angels is that they cannot inhabit a person, they can influence a person. All angels influence people. An angel can appear to you in the form of a human being or an animal. Depends what is necessary to save you from disaster at any given point in time. What the churches, which are dominated by Lucifer, never ever do is mention the word Yahweh. It's been changed in the New Testament and Old Testament to 6,666 verses with the word Lord as opposed to Yahweh. The Jews do not mention Yahweh at all. They say it's sacred, therefore it has no vowels and cannot be pronounced. This is the reason they don't say it. It's got nothing to do with that at all. Everyone should be saying the word Yahweh. So, from a point of view of why does God allow this evil, in fact, we are all party to it, in the sense that we have elected to come to the earth so that the babies to come after us will be inheriting paradise that we will build. We have experienced this evil to defeat Lucifer on behalf of our children to come. That's what it's all about. We all volunteered for it. So it's all to do with the fullness of time, which is a giant chronograph measured by the Earth and the solar system being dragged by the Sun with a nuclear fusion rate of 657 million tons of hydrogen converted to helium per second. This is how many times the word Lord is found in the New Testament. Yahweh is found in the New Testament. So we will be crossing the equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy So it's all to do with the fullness of time, which is a giant chronograph measured by the Earth and the solar system being dragged by the Sun with a nuclear fusion rate of 657 million tonnes of hydrogen converted to helium per second. This is how many times the word Lord is found in the New Testament. Yahweh is found in the New Testament. So we will be crossing the equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy at a 63-degree angle. This is Isaiah 63. Read Isaiah 63, 1 through to 6. This is the blood, the garment covered with blood, washed clean. Then treading the winepress is the Holy Spirit. That is, dyed red by the crushed grapes, which is human beings. So you all volunteered to come back here because we have a task, and that is to prepare the world for the babies to be born. They will be born into paradise and not have to suffer what we have suffered. So we've all volunteered for it. We knew what was going to happen before it happens. This is what prophecy is all about. So this is what encouraged you all to agree to come down here and suffer the violence of this demonic evil. So you will all know what it is, what Lucifer is, and we have eliminated it for our babies to be born into paradise. So you all agreed to it, so don't blame me. Now Yahweh, the sacred name of God, has been changed, as I said, and they never utter the word. Also, the Jews never utter the word because it's all satanic. You should say it in the morning, in the evening, and in every thought. So, uttering a sacred name to a person consumed by demonic forces has a very astounding effect. But in combination with the word Asherah, then you have the complete meaning of the name of God that created you in our image, male and female. There's the gematria for it in English, and it breaks down to 60, 53 for the consonants, and 7 for the vowels. Now why? We've got 53.7. This is the distance from the grand gallery, which represents the earth, into the far wall of the king's chamber, passing through the antechamber, which is 116.26 kilometres wide, which is the age I was when I married my first wife, the harlot of Lisbon, in Egypt. So it means a particle of a union, and from 3956, absolutely all, or singular, everyone. Everyone, whole, all things, all life from the mother. So the mother of all living is Asherah, the father Yahweh is 70. So we have some numbers here, totaling 1183. Jah is master. So it's all in the numbers of the languages, which I arranged as a trap for Lucifer because it's too stupid to think it can outsmart me. So I come back here as a man, as a baby, so I will do what I have to do, I will outsmart you. Do what you like. So there was no welcoming committee on the 11th of January 1944. Even my own parents thought I was mad. My entire family thinks I'm mad, in fact. So the Quran is the same. It's unholy in what it says, yet locked up in the Aramaic numbers what are holy. Same with the 6666 verses with the word Lord. So the Great Pyramid is the greatest testimony to the Mother, as I will explain in detail shortly. The word Asherah, who is Janelle, the mother of all living. The word Ash is the closest to it, which is Isaiah 44:14, which is the latitude which I mentioned earlier of the solar eclipse. Now, the gravitational forces at this point in time are pulling the Earth mantle that can trigger earthquakes. However, the HARP installations use that to trigger earthquakes, to do it when it's blamable on the moon, when in fact it is, of course, another way of doing sacrifices to their god Lucifer. So with Muhammad, he was illiterate, and the Quran was put together by scribes who at the time were Aramaic-speaking Jews, all Antichrist, all Babylonian influence, and they built into the Quran various mistakes referring to the Old Testament, so that each scribe that read the previous work would know that it is a trap. So it was constructed over a very long period of time, and the clerics were the scribes' written word. So they believed in Jesus, so the Jews had to divert that away to making Jesus going to come back and marry and then die and be buried in Medina next to Muhammad. So each scribe would know what's going on in the areas. So eventually the Quran was formed, and the lack of reference to the Old Testament prophets and the misdirection away from the divinity of Jesus is what the Jews had accomplished. So you Muslims are all thinking that the Quran is worshipping Allah. In fact, it is a Antichrist Pharisee invention. But more importantly, it has removed the mother, Asherah, entirely from the Old Testament. So this is what they did. So all we have then is the New Testament to direct the Christians further away from reality, no reincarnation and no mother. And Saul, who became Paul, Saul is two words off the devil in, here it is here, 4, 5, 6, 7, Satanus, of Aramaic origin, corresponding to 4, 5, 6, 6, the accuser, the devil, Satan. Saul is 4, 5, 6, 9. Can you imagine what would happen if the name Jesus was two words away from the devil? Well, that's what the spokesman for the New Testament is, 2 words away from the devil. There's so much in your face, it's unbelievable. Yet it was man and woman made in the image of God, the Elohim, meaning us, the two deities. The translator groups the words God into several categories, so when you look at the King James Bible, there's all sorts of meanings for the word God, but they put it all into one to confuse you. Coming in the clouds of confusion. It says in Genesis 1:27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Well, the he and him is added. In actual fact, it's male and female, because the word is Elohim, 430, from the plural of 433, gods in the ordinary sense, but the duality of the Supreme God, the Mother and Father. As I said, the greatest testimony to the Lord is the Great Pyramid. We can calculate the gravitational center point by multiplying the base width in its fullness of 9131.06, which is 25 years, if that's expressed as a day. So the gravitational center point of the altar is found by multiplying that by 0.666666, resulting in 6087.373 pyramid inches wide, and that becomes 16.666 years. So we then have 4 sides, and that is 66.6. So it is ironic that the mass should reveal a gravitational centre point that is slightly above the chambers, and this is the reason why. Now the reason for the number 60 is Asherah has a value of 60 in English gematria. Yahweh has an English gematria of 70. So it's below this line where all the chambers are. Now, I should mention that the distance from the 6087.373 centre gravitational point straight up is the word comforter, 3875 pyramid inches, and that's the distance from where I was born to the South Pole. So we have 60 solar eclipses for 60 masonry layers. So this is the Christian era after lunation 0, December the 18th, 1922, and it lies between 60 and the 24th layers, which is where the Mother is. The chambers represent Mother Earth or human genealogy. The 60 is the length of the degree in nautical miles and 360 degrees for the Earth. The Moon at 2160 miles wide divided by 60 is 36, and 36 is Amma in English gematria, and which is also Mother. 360 is the length of a solar year in the ancient Hebrew in days. So we have 202 masonry layers. The 50th is the floor of the antechamber, which is the 260th lunation. There are 260 chapters in the New Testament. So my task was first to find Mary Magdalene, which I did on May the 11th, 1997. Her date of rebirth and her children all marry into 1 Chronicles 5:13, which has a value of 31101. Taking the 7 Hebrew names divided by 7 is 4443. And from Harcourt, where the videos were made, to where I was born is 444.3 nautical miles. So the world is moving northward at 69,000 kilometres. There's the 4 inner planets. Blue is to the right of the Earth. Mars is to the left. Mercury is the white, and the yellowy beige colour is Venus. Now, it's 1521 days from our first cured victim of AIDS. So 1521 is the length of the passage into the Queen's Chamber, which is unfinished. There's 206 bones in the human body. So we have here then, between the 22nd of October 2008 and Friday, December the 21st, 2012, a elapsed time of 1521 days. 217 is truth. So James was the first man to cure in New Guinea. That was entirely up to and the promoting of our cure by General. So we have 1521 days. 1521 is to lead into, in Hebrew, and in Greek is the river of paradise. So 64.78 year old on October 28th is me. The number means divorcement, 647 in Greek. The Western nations, when we cured the first New Guinea patient, and in doing so selected PNG, as I was 31.68 years old when it was formed as a nation on the 16th of September 1975, and it is all to do with Joel 3:21, I will cleanse their blood. And there's the mother of all the Chanel. Now when she first found me, she telephoned me and said her name was Nell, shortened by the kids. From Janelle, we're removing the jar. And this is precisely what the New Testament is all about, because we have 8674 words. If that was days, it would be 3.168 years. And they've removed Jah, 3050, from the 8674 words of the Old Testament, and we end up with 5624 words of the New Testament.
That's the Strong's Concordance numbers.
So the word Yahweh has been completely misdirected and redirected to its satanic agenda. Therefore, Jah removed and rejected by all churches and mosques worldwide. But also the mother, even more so, Asherah, has been rejected. So the sacred name of the Lord is Jah. And so we have 117 and 8 in the vowels, and 13, which is 117 times 13 equals 1521, the length of the chamber, distance into the chamber, along the Queen's chamber, 1521. Chamber is 206 inches wide, and Janelle will be 20600 days old on January the 11th, 2013. So just going over it again, we are saying here that cancer, malaria, VD cures all in New Guinea. Janelle has supported Lucy and Jimmy Ravu out of her wages since that time. It was she who arranged it all, her intuition, her resolve and her determination to tell all the that we accounted that I was the Lord. I never said a word. I said nothing. This is Lucy Ravu. She worked for 2 agencies. She's got many degrees in treating people. And when we treated her husband who had AIDS, he was cured, and he knew that I was coming. At first was James, who was an apostolic minister. He preached in the markets, and of course since he's been cured, he's been preaching in the market. Remember, 22nd of October 2008 is 1521 days till the end date, 21 December 2005. So there's the numbers again. This is how they break down. Total 206, Jah and the mother. That's the Queen's chamber. There's 206 bones in the human body. So my age will be 66.6666 years on September 11th, and we're going to make that sacred day, and everyone will say those 2 names, Yahweh and Asherah. So when we add both our ages, on January 11th, 2013, which is the end of the pyramid prophecy, we have a combined age of 125.4 years. That is the Creator to create. It's found in Isaiah 65:17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. Now the solar system orbits around the Milky Way galaxy in 250 million years. We can break that down, it becomes 9131.06, and it is 66,666.666 light years across the orbit. So we have the Julian day 666,666.6666, which is March the 27th, 2888 BC. There's 100 light years across. There's 100 trillion cells in the human body. There's 6,666 verses in the Quran, or lessons. There are 6,666 verses in the KJV 1611 only. No other Bible has it with the word Lord. And the gravitational centre point points to my age. When we multiply the base by 0.666666, we come up with 66.666 years. So, on the human, here's the skeleton poured in a pile. Dried bones will form an angle which is exactly the same as the triangle of the Great Pyramid. And the moon and the earth forms the pyramid exactly, precisely. So we have New Zealand, 888 miles high, and you put the moon against it in those ratios and we end up with 242.4 when Jesus 2424. So it is on this date, January 15th, 2010, a solar eclipse occurs, the 194th since December 18th, 1922, lunation 0, leaving 7 until the last. And so we have identified who was with me when we created all things in a loving intercourse of minds between the mother and father, Asherah and Yahweh. And said before that from where Asherah spoke to you on the farm at Hakot, it is 444.3 nautical miles to where I was born. There she is, mother of all of them, Asherah. You know. Margaret, the lady, Marshall.
Okay. Hi. Okay, here we are back at the farm, and just giving you a brief tour of the tree. All things to do with trees it's been this week. The last couple of weeks actually, since you saw Avatar, and I saw Avatar, which had to do with the Tree of Life. Home tree. And then we have a tree down our driveway. As we came back home from...
Totally solid tree.
Yes.
ED.
That's what I said to you, it was a tree of righteousness. It was alive, it wasn't
It was
dead.
a red interior tree,
Yeah.
white gum.
Very hard.
Tough. There's
And
no
it's-
way it could break at that position.
No, it was
Yet
very
did.
heavy. I tried to pick it up, remember? I thought,
Yeah.
my first thought was it was dead, so we don't need the rope to move it. We could shift it. No! The car had to tell me that. Anyway, so we've just been through the solar eclipse. Number one.
It's in the centre of the eclipse now.
Yeah.
Right in the centre.
Right in the centre now. Okay,
Yeah.
that's right. And number 1077, which is happening at the latitude of 44.14 degrees north and 9,110 kilometres in a direct line north from Ryan Snell Street home. Sacred place. And it looks to me like it's right over Japan in that area.
That's right. So the second eclipse is going to July the 11th this year.
Yeah, 7/11.
It'll be also at the same latitude but south this time.
44.14.
So it's
degrees
giving us a
south.
message. First off, to the equator it's 4918, which is Mushalem, found in 1 Chronicles 5:13, and that is full of sacred numbers. And but in particular the number 4414, which you can explain.
Yes, well, there's one verse in the Bible that has those numbers. I'll talk about the gematria in a minute, but there's two verses actually we're going to be talking about here. First verse in the Old Testament is Isaiah 44:14, which is the key to everything that's being revealed in the videos that were a surprise to me. And I was very surprised. It was lovely. It was exciting. Now, when things happen to us, there's a reason for it. So that tree being done, you know, I said to you, you said it has to be something to do with Isaiah, and I'm saying to you, well, Because I've christened that driveway down there the highway to heaven, the highway of the redeemed, which is referred to in Isaiah. And I'm thinking, the tree is alive, so it was a tree of righteousness laying across the highway to heaven. Okay, so it's going around in our brains. And then, of course, when Brian goes home and he puts it all together without telling me. He normally phones me and says, miracles, miracles, but this time he didn't. He just put it out there. And okay, I'm going to read to you two versions. The original, of course, from the King James original, 1611.
Which is the only one that's got gematria.
Yes, yeah, it's the and I'll give you an example of why they've changed these things, because in it is the key. The answer's right there. And then I'll read to you from the Spirit-filled New King James Version. There's a lot of people around the world are reading from, and you tell me the difference. You already know the name that has come forth, Asherah. We were talking today about how to arrange our names. What do we decide? Janelle, Margaret, Martha, Asherah, or we could go Asherah, Martha, Janelle, Margaret.
All royal names, you've got the whole list.
Yes, like what is it? Prince Charles has Arthur, George, and Henry, Michael, and all the rest
you
of it.
got Lucifer in there somewhere.
Yes, yeah. Anyway, back to business. Isaiah 44, I'll read to you from King James original. He heweth him down cedars, and taketh the cypress and the oak, which he strengtheneth for himself among the trees of the forest. He planteth an ash, and the rain doth nourish it.
So the ash is last.
Yes.
He's making a reference to the ash being the tree that's nourished.
Yes.
So
because
it's meaning now.
You've hewn down. I mean, that tree was hewn down across the driveway. It's come down. But now, in the last, it's about planting an ash, and the rain doth nourish it. And I was reminding Brian that everywhere I've gone, I call for rain and rain comes. I prayed for my sister's property years ago when I first arrived back from North America because it was really dry, it was drought. I walked all over that property and I said, I don't care what's happening in the rest of but this property will remain green and it will have more, the dams will always be full. And it always has been for years in spite of the drought. And here I said, okay, we need rain. They've had more rain here, I think, than they have for quite a while.
Tanks are full.
Anyway.
Dams are full.
But now, I'll read to you from the New King James Version, because guess what? It says, he cuts down cedars for himself, and takes the cypress and the oak. He secures it for himself among the trees of the forest. Wait for it. He plants a pine, and the rain nourishes it.
And that has no gematria at all, except in English gematria. But it's all to do with Hebrew. So there's no Hebrew gematria at all. That's why they've changed it.
Now,
they've realised the King James Bible is a trap. The 1611 was a trap.
Yeah, and it was I remember in my studying of all this, it was 1871 when they held their council with the likes of Westcott and Hort, who were reportedly homosexuals.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and they decided that they needed to bring about changes to the Word of God, the authorised, original, 1611. And that's, from that time forward, all their revisionist Bibles.
That's right.
And there's hundreds of them, literally hundreds, all of them correct.
Now, gematria of
the gematria
4414.
4414. There's one verse in the Bible, New Testament, Matthew 26, verse 66. Listen to this. I'll read to you. I'll read to you first from the authorised, the original. What think ye? They answered and said, he is guilty of death. Now this is in Matthew where we're talking about the high priests. I'll read to you the verse before so that you can get a gist. Then the high priest tore his clothes, saying, he has spoken blasphemy. What further need do we have of witnesses? Look, now have you heard his blasphemy? And then he says, this is 66 in the new translation. What do you think? They answered and said, he is deserving of death. And of course it's referring to Jesus. He was speaking
Yahweh in the flesh.
Yahweh in the flesh, exactly. He was speaking the truth. You've got to remove the truth. He's deserving of death. He irritated the crap out of them then, and they had to put him to death to get rid of him. Shut him up. Shut this guy up.
Mm.
He's revealing.
And they were tricked into doing it because it had to occur according to Isaiah prophecy.
Yes. Yes. And the crowd was shouting when Pontius Pilate, I mean, that guy, I actually feel for that guy on the one hand. I mean, he's been thrown into this position of not finding you guilty of anything. And he's he's kind of scratching his head saying, well, you know, this guy's innocent. I wash my hands. I wash my hands. And so who do you want me to set free on that day? And so the poor guy, he's hearing Barabbas, the crowd's like, Barabbas, Barabbas, Barabbas.
Which means?
Which of course meant son of Abba. Abba meaning father, and it was your nickname, Barabbas, son of. So the crowd's wanting Jesus to be released, and they're calling out his nickname, if you like, Barabbas, Barabbas. But the Jews, the Pharisees, the same ones, the same dudes as today, were there, set up some criminal, murderer, thief, called Barabbas, toothless dude, ugly as can be, in the prison. So Pontius Pilate saying, you know, is there somebody here called Barabbas? There is. They were quick to say there is. They go and get him. And that guy thought all of his Christmases had come at once, obviously. He was as guilty as can be, so they set him free. And he said nothing. Said not a word.
Got to go to the cross.
Got to go.
You wouldn't be sitting here today if it wasn't for
That's
that.
right. Had to be then, because it was all about the sun, the moon, the stars, and the movement of the Earth forward in time at 69,000 kilometres per hour, so that we could back here today talking about what we are on this day now. Okay, we're still in the eclipse at this point in time, but we thought it would be appropriate to talk about knowledge that's now being expounded by scientists. You know that Brian's been telling the truth all along now for decades, and how our soul is in control. Our soul drives our DNA, and that's why when the soul leaves the body, the DNA stops. The body of flesh drops dead. The soul continues to live in the realm of no time, but the DNA of the body stops. Well, Russian scientists have been digging deep for years and years, and what they've been finding is that how the DNA in the last couple of, I think they actually said
1980.
1980. Now that is really significant because I remember it was a prophecy of a guy. Now, I mean...
Well, by 2012 it'll be 32 years, and that 32 is angel.
That's right. But anyway, I'll leave that there for the moment. But yeah, since 1980, studies on people in various places in the world have been showing the same results, that the DNA, the double helix of the DNA, thinking that there's two strands, there's actually been a third strand that scientists actually thought was like a junk, their words, left over from evolution, that's junk. However, what they were observing of this third strand was that it's been growing into filaments that absorb light, and it actually creates a 12-stranded DNA. So it must be a further 10 with the already existing double helix.
Right.
So it becomes 12-stranded DNA. Well, 12, of course, has everything to do with the government of God. 12. But they now know that these filaments of the DNA actually absorb light, and that the energy, in other words, they're putting everything together the way that Yahweh created in the beginning from thought and then all of the atoms and time, space, and the DNA, everything that went into the creation, these scientists have been working on and actually coming up with the truthful answers. So what's been happening, though, and that they haven't actually clued into, from what I've understood, is it's because of our movement northward as we get closer to the magnetic gauze of the Milky Way galaxy, which holds that asteroid belt into place. Of course, they've been monitoring and noticing the changes of the frequency and the energy and how it's affecting the DNA. And what they've been saying, and they're are aware of, that once those 12 strands have completed, have come into being, that it will create, people will become superhuman. They'll be far more intelligent. They'll be able to heal by
Reverse
thought.
aging.
Pardon?
Reverse aging.
Reverse aging. So all of these things that we've been telling you, science is now saying, well, this is what is happening. They've been able to prove it. Now, the whole point is that they've been working on this and noticing these changes in the DNA, and it is because of that northward movement. It's not because of the evolving of the human being.
No, it's not.
And morphing or transcending into this super galactic, they would put it down to super galactic human beings.
Well, you can see the DNA is actually driven by the soul and starting to take on the instructions of the soul to produce the 12-strand DNA and the central core DNA.
Yeah, they talk about how the DNA is responsive to language, thought,
well, that's why
words.
we have these two names now. We've got to revive, and that's why we're making it in September the 11th, 2010.
Yes.
When I am 66.6666 years old.
Yes.
Determined by the Great Pyramid. You know all that now. We've told you over and over and over
But
again.
the importance of this now, science out there that
two names.
But because of the swine flu program.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Why it's so important? Like, it's got nothing to do with money, according to, well, we know it to be the truth.
It's all demonic.
The devil has tried to stop human beings becoming God in the flesh through this very physiological awakening or growth, synapses of the DNA that's happening because of the movement toward the magnetic gauze of the crossing over the Milky Way galaxy.
The magnetic gauze is being condensed, so it's speeding up as we go through it.
Yes. But
so we're encountering more and more every day.
Their vaccines, their swine, is all designed to stop that synapses of the DNA, take us out, so that because the bottom line is they know that they'll have no control over us. Their slaves will have gone.
Well, the parasite is the demon that influences these fools like Obama and so forth to do their will.
Yes.
Will no longer be able to influence the angelic influence through the DNA that the human being will acquire once the 12 strands kick in.
That's right. There'll be no need for pharmaceutical companies at all.
What about, they say about, you take the ant and you take the queen away from the ant's nest, and the ants will continue doing what the queen's instructions were, but if you kill her, they all stop and go into confusion. And it doesn't matter how far away the ant has been taken, the queen has been taken.
Right.
The same thing applies with many of the species, whether it be the bees or whether it be termites and so forth. Once you take that central component out of it, the mother, once you take her away, everything stops. So what have they done in the Bible? They've taken the mother out.
Totally. Removed completely.
So what do we get when we put the mother back into the word phraseology with Yahweh? You've got the marriage. So you've got the two words, you say that, and you have a resonance in all things that will occur. And natives in places where they've had droughts can pray and chant and bring on rains. Human being is God in the flesh. They can do that. Right. You just got to believe it.
Actually...
all is forgiven, by the way.
Yes.
You don't have to be a believer in Jesus to be forgiven.
No.
The idea was to take the Jesus name worldwide. So everyone names it. So when you drop something on your foot, you say, Jesus fucking Christ. It's a good name. It's a good word for swearing. So the point being, however, is that everyone knows what the name Jesus is. So when we now say, okay, Jesus means Yahshua, Jesus saves, Jah saves. So it's just a matter of simply saying the sacred names. Right. And if you want to include Jesus Christ in there, go right for it. No problem. It all means the same.
Jesus, Yahshua.
Might as well put a
Don't
marker in
matter
as
to
well.
you, honey, does it?
Don't matter to me.
No,
It's going to happen.
Mm.
It's inevitable.
And it's an exciting time. I got so I got so excited. We're getting closer and closer and closer. Can you imagine, though, what it's going to be like on the earth as this restoration? Now, I've asked you, how is it going to happen? And it's angelic. Well, as we're getting closer and closer, we will feel this. I know that Adam's generation, Adam's been able to be very keenly aware of manifesting thought very quickly.
Adam, your son?
Thought. Yes, Adam, my son. He calls it quick thought, quick thought, quick thought. It can be anything. He will have a quick thought. That's all it is. You just leave it at that. You don't judge it. It's just about having the thought up there. And
I should also say, when Adam is correct, but thought is what the original creation is. And thought has no boundaries, volume or size. The earth was created first. But before that was the thought process. So the thought process created the earth for the animals and man to come from heaven to in a DNA form that is driven by the same angelic realm. But then the universe was created, and the universe is all alive. Anything that's been created by me is alive. So it's a thought process. Right? But there's no aliens per se. We have one central point, and that is the earth. That's
focus is on the earth.
Yeah. Now, are they trying to bring aliens into it? Of course they are. And they're everywhere. And people can manifest all sorts of things if they want to think about it. If you keep on thinking about aliens, you'll come up with them. Don't worry about it. It's called a demon. Right? So the modern children are so advanced these days that by the time they are across into the other side of the Milky Way galaxy,
and
they'll
everything
have it.
Drops away. All the influence of
The likes of Kissinger and these people, they'll be all dead. He's probably dead already. I was just saying Obama, his name in the skull and bones. Can you imagine this? There's a man who's in charge of the biggest country in the world, the most powerful country in the world. And he's skull and bones man. And his name's Undertaker. And you've got 600 to 800 FEMA camps that are based, what Hitler would have loved it. And Hitler was a pussycat compared to these people.
Now the thing is that based on intelligence from Christopher Story, the good intelligence, this guy's
So it
supposed
says.
this
He
guy's,
likes the Queen. Hey, give me a break.
Yeah, well...
Another false flag.
Right, well, Obama's supposed to be coming to heal, yet on your birthday, on Monday, he has signed already executive orders, without discussing it all with anybody, about bringing together this council of 10 governors who will have authority over the nation, and it's again another fast track for instigating martial law, people believe. Or everything done behind...
What he's done now, explain that, because I haven't heard of it.
Okay, well that's what I sent to you this morning. Yeah, he has given authority to these 10 governors
Of America,
2-year terms, and they are to discuss implementing all kinds of plans at will to do with homeland security, defence, all these kinds of things. Now, the interesting thing is, and the second thing that I sent you this morning was that when it's referring to the states in this again declaration that he's made, and he's signed it into, it's happened already, it's been done. It's the definition of the states, and you realise it's got nothing to do with the 50 states that are within the United States of America. It has, or the citizens of the United States of America. It has to do with possession of the Virgin Islands and all of these territories that are possessions of the USA. So it's like this council that is taking authority over the broader scopes of the USA, nothing to do with Homeland Security. That you must read it. But that was
I
that's all
think you've
happened.
got it under control, then.
Pardon?
You've got it under control.
Oh well, again, but no, I said it to you because he's supposed to have been brought to heel by virtue of what's going on, behind the scenes supposedly. However,
That's peak.
That's peak. The
On the roof.
peacock on the roof.
I told you, it sounded like a 380-pound footballer.
Anyway, he's supposed to have been brought to heel, but he's still up to his antics of not consulting anybody. Go ahead and appointing these, like this council of 10 that have all authority. And
Yeah, I wouldn't put too much hope in the fact that Bush has disappeared and his wife's disappeared and Kissinger possibly dead and 5 people and 400 bankers arrested. It's all to do with their end-time plan.
Mm.
When they start mentioning my name, then you know they're genuine.
Yes, this Christopher story, I've written to him. The same with Benjamin Fulford sitting up
That's
there
right.
in
They're all false flagging. Otherwise they'd get a bullet.
I've written to both of them. The Christ is here. He's watching you.
Right.
He's watching you every... Do they respond? No. And you'd think that Christopher Story would. He knows about the throne of David being the throne of England.
That's right.
And
Well,
being
Lucifer
held to the
knows all
Christ.
about it. That's why they want to keep it.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So what else? Oh, yeah. So it is exciting because we're moving forward really, 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 really fast. And
Well, you
what
can't
it
fool the
says
kids.
changes.
You can't fool the kids.
No.
Suffer the little children not to come unto me.
Yeah.
That's all we're talking about. I don't care about the old people.
Yeah. And
You
Adam's,
want to commit suicide? Go for it.
it's going to be interesting because Adam's appearing before the magistrate on
Yeah,
Monday.
there you go.
And he's had opportunity to tell a number of people what he's ticked off about, which is good. And first and foremost, he tells them about us being in New Guinea, and nobody
cares?
Nobody cares. Not family, not government, not anybody in authority. Nobody in newspapers. He had that interview last week. She didn't care. Oh, where's the... Just like M.
That's right.
Where's...
You can say the word.
Oh, Michelle. Oh, anyway. Where's the evidence? Where's this? Where's that? As people are...
So far as Michelle's concerned, she fits the prophecies that she has to bring forth these children, which are I'm babysitting all the time. But her family, of course, are all abominations. And you would think they would come around and say, oh yes, we know you're Christ and we will give you some hand up in New Guinea. Even Michelle's, Mason's wife, is a nurse. And cut us off from getting cheap fares to New Guinea.
Cut you off. It was...
Right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and friends and family first, holidaying here, there and everywhere.
Oh, dear
Let
man.
alone the work in saving
Totally
people's
staggered
lives.
by the demonic effect in the families of Michelle, my own family, your family, look at your sister. Right? Unbelievable. They are so possessed with the devil. It is extraordinary to think that intelligent people can be so consumed.
This my children are... They applaud the work. My children have always been compassionate, every single one of them. And they applaud the work. They're just a bit unsure about except for Adam.
Well, he's the only one that's got that.
Yes, he did the research. As he does, Adam.
I find it interesting with, out of the family that's come my way through Michelle, who is Mary Magdalene, her personality today is the same as it was then. Now, she'd rather put her head in the sand. But what's come out of it is the 2 granddaughters. And they get together discussing, here's a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, discussing who they were in the past life.
Yes.
And who was King David and what the relationship with King David was. And they
About
believe it
David.
100%, you see, because they know me.
Yeah.
Right? I've always been there for them and guided them and,
Yes.
and shown them what's right and what's wrong and told them the truth.
Yeah.
So that goes over like a lead balloon with the parents.
Oh, totally. Tell me about it. I took opportunity to get little Poppy on my own on several occasions and tell her
That's your grandniece.
my niece.
Niece, I'm sorry.
My niece. Yes, I have a sister who is much younger than me, and 17 years younger, and she has 3 children, and third one is little Poppy, who, it was Poppy's birthday on the 10th. Oh my goodness, she turned 5. 5.
Are they taking pot shot at us?
Yeah.
Sure.
They've already done that with their whatever it was they tried to get me with.
Yeah.
Actually, I was thinking that this week, just the last couple of days, is the best I have felt since the date was, I think, the 4th of...
January.
No, the 7th of November.
All right.
That's how long it's been going
Oh,
on.
of course it has. Yeah. I'm talking about when you're sick.
That noise and suspected microwaves or
yeah.
whatever.
Oh, they're trying. Up on the hill there, we can see it right from the house here. There's these huge towers directly in line with the window where you got zapped. It was like a bolt of lightning. Didn't work, whatever.
No, it didn't work. Just threw me off for several weeks, which really irritated me. However, I mowed the lawn yesterday. Oh, you should have seen the dust that was kicking up. That's how I knew I'm completely recovered. I'm back to mowing the lawn. Oh, now we're off on a tangent. There was something else. Oh, yeah. So our DNA is it's what is it doing?
It's following the angelic command, which is coming through because of the position we are as we're travelling through the gauze, the magnetic fields.
Yeah.
If you look at a magnet, it's a very concentrated magnetic field on the end of the poles, and we're coming up through that.
Yeah.
And it is a wondrous scene to contemplate.
Yes.
And of course, no one's talking about it.
No.
They're talking all the bullshit in the world,
Yeah.
the end of the world.
Science.
Well, in fact, it is the end of the world for demons.
Yeah.
It's the end of it.
Yeah. And it is the end of the world as we know it.
Yes,
but it's the beginning of
paradise. It's not what they're trying to portray it as. This latest movie, I don't think I'll even go and see it. This one is about 2012.
Oh no, well Victor saw it.
What do you
Hi
think
Victor.
What do you think of it?
I missed your call the other night, huh? He laughed actually because he's a smart kid. He's got it all figured out. He's humble, and he was with some friends, and they were going, and he's saying, "It's not the way it is." Apparently, what they had was that this ark was built, and that Elizabeth and her corgis made it onto the ark.
Oh,
when
really?
The got
How
saved.
dumb is that?
And he's saying it's the other way around, and all the bad people were taken up. Oh no, all the good people were supposed to be taken off the earth or saved.
What's the sacred name you got to say?
Oh, Yahweh-Asherah. Okay, I've just got some paperwork here because I've been at it again as far as my family is concerned. Now, it was the 18th of August, that was the day, it was the day before my birthday, a Tuesday, that I delivered the documents, of course, to Quentin Bryce, the Governor-General. And so I zipped down there in my freedom wagon and I got them to her personal assistant, and of course we all know that she did get the documents because she sent us the letter in acknowledgement of it. But on the way there, now she lives in Government House in the Australian Capital Territory.
So she has the authority of the Queen to actually dissolve government.
Oh, absolutely, totally.
She's the most powerful woman in Australia.
Yes,
or
totally.
Person.
And anyway, she's the Queen's representative that has been appointed by the Queen. She's also a barrister in her life, and a mother of 5, and all kinds. She's tremendous accomplishments, blah blah, and the best friend of my sister, who runs the Bradman Foundation. Oh. Anyway, this day, I'm sitting down there, mission accomplished, and I'm zipping back, and then weeks go by, and of course, what happens? But I get infringement notice, camera detected offence, for on the way and on the way back, the same area. Well, I did my usual routine, and what happened? Oh, yes, because the car that I drive, my Freedom Wagon, is actually still registered in my mother's name. It was her car. She gave it to me when I came from at $2.60 Canadian in worldly wealth, and my children that came with me from Canada when split up from. Anyway,
$2.16.
$2.60 Canadian was what I arrived in.
Width of the moon.
Pardon?
2160 miles is the width of the moon.
Well, it's $2.60, 260.
Oh, 60.
Yeah.
You can't win them all.
Anyway. So anyway, I've got these speeding fines.
However, that is how many chapters there are in the New Testament.
Oh, there are 2.
You don't think I'd let that slip away without getting on it?
Absolutely not. Okay. And before this date, 18th, remember folks, 18th of August, fined, there and back, cameras detected, Canberra, Australian Capital Territory, which is the like Washington DC, it's a special territory on its own that has, that's where the Parliament is. Prior to that, though, in July when we were here, in this paradise, staying with Dominique, I, for some strange reason, didn't put my seatbelt on this day when I drove into Castlemaine, which is where we were the other day.
And in my car, which I...
Yeah, in your car, which is still registered to you. Anyway, I drove in Brian's car, and I was pulled over for not wearing a seatbelt and fined. And the officer asked me at the time, it must have been the 27th of July, I think. Yeah, something like that. He said to me at the time, you know, giving me an out, I could have made up an excuse. Well, why weren't you wearing a seatbelt? And I just looked at him and said, well, because I didn't put it on. End of story. He goes, oh, no option but to write out. So, $234 fine. Well, that has turned up, as much as I tried to deflect it by sending it to Canada under my Canadian license, because I got one of those, it's real and it's live. Anyway, I'm going to court on the 29th of this month, January, to the magistrate. It was supposed to be last week, but I changed it to, because I was in Barrel with Adam's little court matters, because I'm not going to pay the fine. It's $234. I actually sent back the response saying I wasn't going to pay the fine, and but they sent it back to me anyway. So now I'm going to go to the court and stand before this little magistrate who's going to think, well, and I'm not going to pay the fine, and I'm going to tell them that you can fine me anything extra that you like. I'm still not going to pay that. And if they say, well, we'll cancel your license, I say, well, it still won't stop me from driving. So, you know, take me to jail. I'm aiming to go to jail here. It's a very nice, comfortable place. And the penalty should be a couple of nights' worth. Well, so what if it's a week's worth? But the point is that there are people in prisons here that need to know that the Christ is back. Plenty of people in prison get to, or want to know Jesus really fast. And so I'm aiming to go to jail so I can tell people the Christ is already back. I told the acting commissioner for Victoria Corrections, when I emailed him the first time round, I thought it was going to go ahead. I wanted to know if they had any space at the local facility for the weekend. It was actually that weekend that I needed a place to go to. Remember? Yeah. Anyway,
you kept your emails.
He sent me back an email in response to that and said we can't give out that information. So I responded to him saying thank you for responding to me, and I said, by the way, I'm not going to need it for this weekend because I'd already set this back to 29th, and I let him know that the Christ was already here. You know, just because it was Christmas time, so that the Christ is already here. He responded again, and he said, interesting. Thank you. And I sent him the link. Anyway, so now this one for Canberra is really important because it came back to me a second time. Even though I tried to deflect it to Canada, it came back again. So there's a reason for it. First of all, on my way back, the time that I was booked at was 4:44 p.m. Anyway, we did the numbers on it, and it's all about taking this opportunity. I have decided I'm not going to deflect this one. I'm going to get a fresh statutory declaration, and I'm going to announce to them what it was that I was doing, the documents that I delivered to the Governor-General, and the charges that we are bringing against the government, Governor-General, and the Australian Federal Police, who are all party to everything that's been happening by virtue of them bowing down and following the Freemason, Illuminati. The police here all wander around with the checkered, which is a symbolic Freemason, owned by Freemasonry, the checkered vans that they drive in. So, and I'm going to have it witnessed and signed by Yahweh, God Almighty, the Lord Jesus Christ, Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. Because on the back there, they have all of these members of certain profession and other persons that can witness what I've, my signature. So I'm going to get him to witness my signature as who he is, and I'm going to tell them point blank that I don't come under their authority. They have no authority over me. And we're going to stamp it with a real-life postage stamp. Anything that is franked doesn't count in the mailing system. And the United Postal service, the UPS. Is it the UPS? It's the anyway. That it has the highest authority on the planet. You cannot interfere with the mail when
It's
it has a
international
stamp
postal
on it.
service.
It's international law, and there is no authority higher than it. And the postmaster of even our little, they have authority that I don't think they are aware of.
Oh, no, no.
But it has to do with a physical stamp, crossing it diagonally and signing upright. So I'll be signing Go Lightly Marshall ... space, which means the house of, or the family of, Go Lightly Marshall, Janelle, Margaret.
And
And small caps.
Asherah?
Oh, Asherah. Yes, Asherah. Now, I named my 4 children. All of their names begin with A. We've got Ali, Aaron, Abby, and Adam. And I'm going to do the gematria soon. I was trying to do that as I was. So, yeah. So, I may go to jail again. That's great. They can lock me up in the ACT, whatever they like. But no, perfect opportunity to return this and bring everything forward and lay it in their hands. They cannot
Well,
ignore
if,
it.
see, your defence is that you have taken an accusation to the Governor-General of Australia, who can dissolve government,
Yes,
that represents the Queen that sits upon my throne.
that's right. All the evidence that I placed in
All
her
the
hand
evidence
that
has
the
been
Christ
given us.
returned, let alone, vaccination.
So we're doing it their ammunition against them.
Mm,
They choose the weapons, okay, we'll use their legal system.
yes.
And we are saying, right, this is international law.
Mm,
It has been stamped
mm,
and signed by the mother that is absent from their Bible that they swear upon,
yes, when they take their oaths of offices.
and confirmed by the rightful king and Yahweh.
Mm.
So,
Interesting. It's adding up to be a very interesting 2010.
and what's the name we have September the 11th? What's the name everyone's got to say on their lips?
Yahweh-Asherah.
Okay.
You've turned that back on again, haven't you?
No, I have not.
You have to. I was trying to have a... I was remembering. There's a sound. Talking about a vibration.
Yeah.
There's a sound attached to your name that I learned. I was actually coached in. This is all that wacky JCDC part of the diva, as Yahweh in the name and the vibration of it, but it has a particular sound that was literally right. Remember we talked about the sound of
Well, who is it that's saying you can't say the name, the sacred name? The Jews, perhaps?
yes,
The Pharisees, the ones that have the Talmud, that has child molestation as being part of their agenda?
yeah. But I'm
They
talking,
say don't use the word Yahweh?
yeah, but I'm talking about a sound, and that's it's a sound. Now, this is bringing back. This has to do with the feminine.
Yes, that's right.
That was all coming back to me because I learned that sound. I was coached.
There's
in it,
old
and it was
Peak,
the
and I better
angel.
get a shot of him, eh?
He's magnificent.
Before he wanders away. Oh, he's behind the thing, just at the right moment. There's the plough. Something about Isaiah's in the plough, isn't it? There he is, coming back out.
Oh,
Come on, Pete.
gracious. Turning our weapons into clouds.
Come on. Like a pet dog, isn't he? He's wandering up very slow. So, oh, I've got something to eat. Come on. Magnificent bird of Australia. There's another magnificent bird of Australia.
Anyway, I have to develop that further because I've got to go back into, and it has to do with the Hebrew alphabet, but it's the sound, the resonation of that sound has to do with the feminine.
Absolutely.
God. And how it was that sound that literally brought about the creation, like from the thought.
You're
realm.
quite right.
Yes. So anyway,
I was there, I remember. Now there's a bit of handiwork right there. Look at that magnificent creature.
and of course we've still got the duck here. Speaking of duck,
Come on, Pig, what are you doing? So what do you got to eat for me, eh? Want something to eat? Show us your tail. Of course the mating season is over, he's not too keen on throwing his tail up now. But he might. Oh, a little ant, that'll do. He'd be the best part of 3 metres long. You were saying?
Oh, no. Well, that's it for now. I'm getting hungry. Oh, I've got to eat. But that sound, no, I'm just remembering the significance of that sound. It's huge.
Yeah, well, the ladies of the earth should learn it, and the men should learn Yahweh.
Mm. It's that, yeah, because I need to tell you, things are coming back. All the information that it's given me.
Yeah.
Well, with the information, the knowledge, and the information, and just...
well, that's why I never prompt you.
Mm.
It's got to be spontaneous. Have I prompted you at all?
No, not at all. No, he does that. He's the ultimate seed planter. It's just things are spoken in conversation, and I always go back over in my mind to recall, because I know that it's seed, and it's planted, and then it speaks to my soul, and then my soul, it's my soul that comes into the understanding and begins to, well, it's remembrance. It's amazing, actually, because...
That one little word here and there, just in conversation, that sort of...
Oh, boom.
Hey, boom, boom.
Boom. When I
I'll give an example of that. Food.
Boom. No, before I found Brian, I was known, like I was living in North America, Canada and the USA, and people that knew me over there knew me for my habit of, I'd get excited, I'd be explaining something, a thread of thought, and then I'd finish the conversation with boom. Like, you get it, boom. Well, the night I'm watching you, you're explaining your thread of thought, and you finish it just with a boom. And I'm going, oh my God, there's not another person on the planet that
No
does
one
that.
says that.
No, you say boom at the end of your conversations. And then, yes, the next. You don't get next. Moving right along. Next. Anyway, but no, the sound is something we have to develop.
I say that for people who are caught in the agony of their Christian beliefs or Muslim beliefs, and they're married to some asshole, and they might ask me what I think, and I say next.
Next. Yes, that's right.
Drop the son of a bitch
Yeah.
and move on.
Or this. I know how Christians travail staying together because they believe that God hates divorce. I've got news for you. God was the creator of divorce. Like, he divorced Israel back in the Old Testament for their... And if you're strung up with somebody who is truly an asshole, whatever, and it's a two-way street, male or female. Next.
That's right.
Don't waste precious time and love.
It's all to do with love.
Love.
So what we have then is the 537 number from the previous slide, which, what think ye? They answered and said, he is guilty of death. And that is the 4414 gematria in Greek, for the only verse in Greek that has a value of 4414. So we see then it is 537 to the far wall of the King's Chamber from the Grand Gallery. There's a great step at the Grand Gallery. There's the value of it in English gematria. So the word groves, 842, found in 24 verses. This points to the Lucifer god of the Pharisees during the retelling of the Exodus, where Lucifer demands they tear down the groves. The number 3413, however, which is the first of them, is Michael, the Archangel. Now, the Garvin Institute in Sydney many years ago, by covert means, which I allowed them to do, took my DNA, and this is what they came back to me with, that I had 3 unusual chromosomes, 3, 4 and 13. Then I told them, well, it's Michael the Archangel. So, as you see with Janelle, she's a very happy girl. And Groves, the number 842, means Asherah, from 833, to be happy. Goddess, also an image of the same. So in other words, they put a statue or a tree or a pole and made groves out of them, because these are, there's nothing wrong with putting up images at all. I never said don't make an image of me. Why not? Every church in the world's got Jesus hanging in it. It's okay with me. It's like not mentioning the word, the sacred word Yahweh. What a load of rubbish. Talk it up. They don't want you to say it because the name has a reverberation, especially with Asherah, and it will cure your cells and enliven your soul. So we see then that the Babylonian Pharisees had taken over since Jeremiah left Jerusalem with the 2 daughters of Zedekiah and married them into the line of Irish line of Judah that had gone there in 1521 BC. So the vengeful god of wrath is what they was trying to promote. Moses was commanded, for example, by God, and it certainly wouldn't be you or I who'd say this, right? To stone a man to death for picking up a few sticks on a Sabbath, like who cares? Yahweh is the Sabbath, but you'll find that in the King James Bible in particular, they spell the Sabbath with a small s, lowercase. So that is because Jesus is the Sabbath. Yahweh is the Sabbath. Yahweh and Jesus are the same, and Christ today is the same. I am Yahweh in 3 time scales. Pre-existence, Jesus time, and now the end time. Now I just simply let the demons do what they like, and occasionally cause the prophets to say something or write something down or do something that'll be taken down and recorded in history. The Satanists have no idea. They can't think along the lines of Yahweh. Here we have some more of the condemnations of people being put to death, supposedly spoken to by me, but was spoken to by Lucifer. So here they found a man picking up sticks on a Sabbath day. It's all bullshit. So we see that the scribes added the book, chapter and verse numbers in the 12th century. So in other words, if you was around at the time of the days of Herod and prior to that in Rome, there was no verse numbers. They were just one long scroll. Different books, yes, but one long scroll. So King James, his mother was taken away from him when he was a little baby boy. She was forced to abdicate. Later, when he was 21 years of age, she had been in prison in house arrest in England, and a plot by the Freemasons and Jews had her plotting to kill Elizabeth I, and she had no way of avoiding the proof that had been given to her, because it was all manipulated. But she signed the death warrant. So King James himself was a Freemason, but he was forced to be Freemason. That's the only way he become and maintained as being King of England, and also of Scotland before that. So as a king he made certain he would counter Lucifer's demons, allowing his trusted friend Edward de Vere, who was the Earl of Oxley, but his pen name was William Shakespeare. So these were the two most educated men in England. They knew what was going on. Francis Bacon had gathered 47 scholars to translate what the Jews had told him to translate. It's all to do with Jews, into everything. Now, did these men know they would encode truth when they put together the translation? Well, of course they did. They were divinely inspired. So the following is one of the codes that reveals the Mother Asherah. 3413, which is Michael, the Archangel. I mentioned this in the last video. So my part was to be reborn and marry the harlot of Lithgow, because no young man of righteous thought would want to pass his genetics on to the offspring of a harlot. But that was what Lucifer did. We married on April the 23rd, 1966, and 1966 is Lucifer. That's in Hebrew, rather. Shouldn't be Greek. So this, all these dates, 116.26 is the width of the antechamber, so I was 11626.6 weeks old when I married. I am 116.2 days older than Michelle, who is Mary Magdalene. Now, as I said before, Mary Magdalene couldn't have children. Martha, the younger sister, could. And it was Lazarus that caused us to be caught in the act. And then she was brought to me because I was proclaiming to be able to forgive sin, which was blasphemy, because I was God in the flesh. And they wanted to see what I was going to do with my own wife. This adulterous woman caught with me in the very act. So I said to them, those among you who haven't sinned, be the first to cast a stone. And this got Martha saved from being stoned to death. At the cross, she stood separately from the other three women, which was Mary, my mother, Mary Magdalene, and Mary, my auntie. And they stood ostracizing, even at that point in this horrid situation, the one Jesus loved, which was Martha, standing at my feet. And I've said in other videos that she relayed things to me that only I know, and only a person who was at the cross would know. So here we have then where I was born on the right to Eileen's home, which is latitude of 3323, which is the word Messiah, and then down to this location here where Michelle is, her home, and where I'm talking to you from today. And it is 777.7 kilometres with GPS satellite software, accurate to within a few feet. The point of marrying Lucifer's choice was the age I was when I decided to marry her. 1162.6 weeks. And Michelle today is 1162.6 days younger than I. And her youngest daughter and my eldest daughter, the difference in years, 11.626 years. However, my youngest daughter to Michelle's younger daughter is 777.7 days. So the latitude of the home where Eileen was conceived and born, Wallerawang, 20 Newbeck Street, Lidsdale. The latitude is 3323, which is Messiah, or Messiah. from where I was born to Isle Lane down to this location where I am today is 777.7 kilometres. Now, John 1:41 is where you'll find the number 3323, Messiah. Now the verse here is a gematria of 7777. The Jews then murmured at him because he said, I am the bread which came down from heaven. These Lucifer demonized Babylonian Pharisees, scribes and priests were working entirely for the devil. Now at the end of Rothschild Avenue is Harcourt Parade. It is a heading from the left to the right of 88.88 degrees. It's 1.14 kilometres long, and in Hebrew this is Adonai. Lord, 888 of course is Jesus in Greek gematria. And when I was 942 days old, my family moved to 114 Regent Street, Mascot. Now from 105 Rothschild Avenue, Rosebery to Harcourt Farm and Asherah, Janelle, is 444.3 nautical miles. There are 3 verses that have a gematria of 4443. But who is able to build him a house seeing the heaven and heaven of heavens cannot contain him? Who am I then that I should build him a house, save only to burn sacrifices before him? So what a load of nonsense these idiots had, and were quite often chastised by the prophets. Then shall they know that I am the Lord, when I have laid the land most desolate because of all their abominations which they have committed. And the wall that was without, over against the chambers, towards the utter court, on the forepart of the chambers, the length thereof was 50 cubits. Now the 50 number is quite important when you're deciphering the Great Pyramid, because it's the 50th layer of masonry where the floor of the antechamber is in the King's Chamber. In the previous videos I have explained how my youngest and oldest daughters were conceived in homes I had built in Canada. These are 444.3 kilometres apart. And as I said before, the ages, Michelle was 32.75 years old when she was gave birth to Rihanna. She is 777.7 days younger than Nicole, my youngest daughter, which is 2.127 years, and 2127 and 3275 are solitary words found only in 1 Chronicles 5:13, and they are side by side. So for the intelligent, the mathematics of this being so staggers the mind. You wouldn't actually have to go any further with this proof I've been going on about for years and years and years. Just one video is enough. However, the word David, you multiply the letters in English gematria together, you get 3168, which is Lord Jesus Christ in Greek gematria. Now the antechamber is the door that the key of David opens. That's why the 537 number was revealed before when I showed it to you concerning Asherah. Now, when we go through, and I'll show you the drawing in a moment, we add the 537.0278 plus the 286.1 displacement factor plus the 230.5379 height of the walls equals 1053.18159 times. This is 10,000. This is going to a place of 10,000ths. A moon lunation 29,53052 equals 31101. That's how many verses there are in the Bible, but it also leads to 1 Chronicles 5:13, as the 7 names in it, where you find the number 3275, the age Michelle was when she gave birth to Rhiannon, and Rhiannon being 2.127 years younger than my youngest daughter. When you add all these verses up, it gives you 31101. Divide by 7 to average them, and you get 4443. So that's what you've done. You've gone along the Grand Gallery, multiplied all these numbers together, added numbers together, and you end up with a number 31101. And I was born Julian Day 243111, 11th January 1944. Now, Janelle's children, who is Asherah, she had 4 children. They were born 6.18 years apart. This is a Fibonacci number. It can be written as either 1.618 or 0.618. The 7 names in the preceding verse, 1 Chronicles 5:13, have a total value of 1618 in Hebrew gematria. Close up of it. Square root of 4443 is 66.6558325. That's as close as I could do it mathematically, which is rounded 66.66 years, which is the gravitational centre point of the Great Pyramid. And I've showed in previous videos, and I won't do it again. You'll have to look it up. That when you add that as days to my birthday, it gives you September the 11th, 2010, which is going to be Yahweh-Asherah Day. You say that word all day long, and you make that horrid day holy. The word God is found in the Bible 4,443 times. 3788 verses. This is the Glightly Shield. It's the lion looking straight at you. King William of Scotland was the first king to use the lion, and he looked straight at you. That's the Lion of David, because it's the ancient crown of David. Glightly. That's his son. And that's my mother. So this is the Judah royal line. It says 49:9, Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? I'm the old lion. The sceptre, however, shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Christ comes. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. It means Messiah. Takes you back to the latitude of the harlot of Lithgow. Now, as there are 24 verses in the Old Testament with the word groves, the first is the first masonry layer at the altar to Yahweh. Now, there are 24 verses in the Old Testament with the word groves, which, as you now know, is the word Asherah. Now, the first is the first masonry layer that lines up with the first verse. So, in other words, at ground level of the altar to the Lord Yahweh. Now it's laid out and then reduced by 286.1 from the original 36524.24. The 2861 number in Hebrew is espousal, and 36524.24 reduced by the 286.1 is 3623814, and I won't go into all the details of the 814 gematria and so forth. I'll just give you the 3623, which is the female Asherah espoused, representing all of humankind to Yahweh. So when they laid out the original 4 corner sockets, they laid these out before anything happened. Then they went around and chipped lines in it, which were 3652424, which is a solar year times 100. Then they, where they should have been on the left there, they moved them inwards to where you see them in the right. So that reflects the 286 number and the mother. Now, 24 layers later is the floor leading into the Queen's Passage that goes into the Queen's Chamber, 1521. I did mention in another video that our first AIDS cured patient was October the 22nd, 2008, and that leaves 1521 days to the last day, the 21st of December 2012. And as far as the movie 2012 is concerned, don't go and see it, it's a load of rubbish. So that's basically the plan there. We see that Jesus comes out of the pit of hell, up the red line, and encounters the world, which is the Grand Gallery, which are the souls all descended from Asherah, the tree of life, the mother of all living. And it's going to go along the 1521 pyramid inches into the Queen's Chamber, which is 206 pyramid inches wide, and there's 206 bones in the human body, etc. So we've got to see how Asherah fits in. So what we got then to the right at the top is the 286.1 line, which is the base level, which is the first layer. Above that is the first layer of masonry, and it then goes up to the 24th layer of masonry, and we have the red line going up to 24 and across to the entrance of the Grand Gallery. So we see that the Grand Gallery itself is 286.1 high. The two words 1521 in Hebrew and Greek is, in Hebrew it's lead into, and in Greek it's river of paradise. So this is all unfinished, and what it signifies is that Asherah has to join with the Lord Yahweh and then travel forward in time. So the first of the 24 verses, which we now would be the base level, it is 3413, Exodus 34:13, which is Michael the Archangel. Now, if any man not love God, then he is anathemarenta. I never say it myself. Greek dictionary, however, is 3134. Maranatha is the distance to the South Pole from where Michelle grew up. 3134 nautical miles. There it is there. Maranatha. Now Micah 5:14, I know will pluck up the groves out of the midst of thee, so will I destroy the cities. Now only a sick mind would think of something like that. So Ashtoreth is another spelling of it. Asherah. Now the 24 verses also refers to the 24 elders in the book of Revelation. The Revelation 14:3 and 4 is 144. We're talking about the 144,000. Now it says that these aren't defiled with women, in other words the churches, for they are virgins, they haven't fallen for it. So this is a great whore, the harlot, All souls are female by the mother of all living. They must marry Yahweh in the flesh. So the book of Revelation talks about the 24 elders that sing a new song. They only sing it because they actually are blessed with the soul of their mother, Asherah. They understand. They are virgins, they haven't been defiled with the churches, or they've come out of the churches knowing that they are evil. All souls are female, and the male is Yahweh, and that is why they've been removed entirely. See, Elohim, who created man and woman in our image, was talking between Yahweh and Asherah. So there's no ruling with a rod of iron, that's to rule with love. Now the following slide is the tree, close up of the tree. I pinged. The splinters are so tough, they ping. There's no way this material would break like that. You would have difficulty driving a nail into it with a hammer. That's how hard it is. And it's all perfectly sound. See on the bottom right there where it started to split down the actual trunk of the tree. It would be at least 10 inches thick. So the weight of the tree above the fracture is not heavy enough to cause this kind of damage. It's also surrounded by trees that are more than 100 feet high, so there's no wind can cut it. And it happened one day after my 66th birthday. So what I did, I just got the small car I've got and hooked onto it and pulled it out of the way. And here she is. The word Asherah means happy. If you look at all the videos I have shot of Janelle, she is extremely happy. This is at the farm during the solar eclipse on the 15th. Now on January the 12th we drove into Castlemaine, a small town near Harcourt. At around 7:30 I was talking about the time in Canada while living on Sprout Lake near Port Alberni. I had at that time two vehicles. One was a diesel Pontiac car which I'd stored for the winter in the driveway near the house. At about 3 in the morning an angel woke me and told me to move the vehicle. I had, as I said, two cars. The Pontiac diesel had been parked for 3 months, and I thought I might have trouble starting it, but it started with first kick. I drove 50 feet or so up the driveway. Then an ash tree fell directly along where the car had been parked. The address, you can Google it, 8508 Sterling Arm Drive, Sprout Lake. The latitude is 4915,389 and the longitude is 12454.958. Point being is that the 12454 number, if you call that days and add it to my birth date, is Julian Day 244355, and this is the date that I crashed the logging truck in 1978 on February the 15th. There are 555 verses in the times in the New Testament. The word Christ is found in 522 verses. At that time I was taken up to heaven, gone up through the light, which many people speak about these days. And I was reminded who I was, and then brought back to the earth. Now, as Jesus, I lived 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days to the point of resurrection. And when you add 109, you get the previous number. And then Australia is 1 day ahead. So you take off 1 day, gives you 108 verses, and that's how many times the word ghost is found in the entire Bible. Jude 1:20, but ye beloved, building up yourselves on your most holy faith, praying in the Holy Ghost. Now, as I said, I lived on Sprout Lake near Port Alberni. From September the 1st, 1990 to my arrest on July the 8th, 1995. This is 771 days, which is 4.849 years, which is the height of a pyramid in feet with the capstone in place. My first angelic encounter as a child was on November the 16th, 1948. At that time, my angel Michael told me to climb a fence and go into the house next door. And I mean, I was only a child, 4.849 years old. I was there and I found a lady. She was in the bathroom. She had been electrocuted. Her son, a baby boy around 18 months or so, was asleep behind the door, which I was told to go in behind the door, step across the lady's legs, not touching her, and to tell the little boy not to touch his mother, that she was asleep. I then was told to go and tell my mother, and oddly she wouldn't listen. She never did, and had she responded, the lady would have lived. But the actual vacuum cleaner that she was electrocuted with, my father had wired it up, so it became very hush-hush. They didn't want to talk about it at all, ever. I've seen my father doing it. He connected a hot wire up to the frame, which I later confirmed with my brother. Now the lake is a ghost shape. It's like a wobbly cross, really. It's 10.4 miles long, and where the arrow is pointing there is where the house is. Now the latitude number 4915 is Marshall from 4910, and you can look up Genesis 49:10. Scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come, which is Christ. The choice vine, of course, is you people who are of the end time saints that believe in me. So the point I'm making here is that every facet of my life has something to do with a connection to time, distances, dates, locations, latitudes, etc. So as the knowledge increases with the help of the internet, many of these things you can check out for yourself and see that I've been saying this for the last, well, since the internet was available to me in Canada in 1993. Now, the point I'm making here is where my two children were born in Canada. The distance between the two homes that I built where they were conceived is 444.3 kilometres. There's Vancouver Island, where Port Alberni is, near Sprout Lake, and up to the right is Quesnel, top right. It's a small logging town. Well, they both are logging towns, really. So this is where the tree fell down. The house is on the lake. The tree fell where the blue line is showing, and I moved the car from the red location to the red location up the driveway. Now the tree that fell on the farm occurred shortly after we had driven out of the farmhouse to the town, and during the meal I mentioned the time in Canada, which I just mentioned to you. When we returned, the tree had fallen across the drive. Now the tree is very, very solid. There's no way this tree could break the way it did. There's no real weight on it, and the inside of the tree right through to the outside layers are very, very tough hardwood, blood red in colour. Now the eclipse that occurred on the 15th is at a latitude of 4414, and if you draw that latitude around the Earth, it is 9110 kilometres to my house in Nell Street. There's only one verse in the entire Bible with the gematria, in the New Testament that is, of 4414. What think ye? They answered and said, he is guilty of death. Now, the point being here, that's Matthew 26:6. The point being here is that the actual crucifixion wasn't going to occur because the people were behind me. But a woman caught in adultery, which was Martha, was brought to me. We had been caught as I was espoused to Mary Magdalene, but she was unable to have a child. And it was necessary for the cross to take place on a certain date, which was the 3rd of April in Gregorian calendar times. And we have the English gematria for the verse that I just spoke of, which is 537, which is the distance into the far wall of the King's Chamber through the antechamber, that's that little box in the centre, from a grand gallery which is called the Great Step. And it means absolutely all, everyone, all things, everyone, whole. I'm talking about the earth itself, people of the earth. Now the 24 verses are the 24 elders in Revelation. Now 24 verses with the word which is groves, that has been changed, and we'll show you how it's been changed and why. But the 24 verses are the 24 elders and 24 layers of masonry, and when we overcome the 24 layers, it is the line that runs into the Queen's Chamber via the Queen's Passage.